Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Marvel Stuff podcast. My name is Colin.
I'm Coach.
Hey, it's Josh.
I'm Ray.
And we have a lot to talk about. Cody is going to be leading us. There really wasn't that much stuff that happened besides the new episode, which there's a lot to talk about in there. But as of Marvel news, there was a new behind-the-scenes set of Kate Bishop, which that's going to be super exciting to see her in live action. That like whole story of of how her and Hawkeye meet in the comics was pretty cool. And you actually kind of follow that storyline in the Avengers game, which Hawkeye is going to be coming out on Tuesday on February 16th. So, yeah.
I have played that game, but unfortunately, I'm too busy spending more money on Marvel Strike Force. They just had a Bishop from the X-Men come out, and I dropped like $60. So everyone watch, so I can pay for my addiction to Marvel Strike Force. Now let's jump right into WandaVision, because lucky for us, we don't need a ton of Marvel news because the way WandaVision show is set up, it's so newsworthy in itself. So many theories, so many different weird ways that it can go, that it gives us infinite talking to do, which is great. So obviously we jump in this week. We fast forwarded now to the 90s, which was an exciting time for all of us. That's when we all grew up, and it nailed it. It did the Malcolm in the Middle thing. Yep. With the carrying around and talking and breaking the fourth wall, which was not one of our guesses on the last episode of what they would parody, but I should have thought of it. It was great. I just loved it. I loved the talking to him. There's a little Lizzie Mcguire-ish in the actual intro itself, with the actual execution of the episode. It was very Malcolm in the Middle. So that was super fun. You get to see the boys have a personality, which is great. It's obviously leaning more and more that they're real. They're not just...
Yeah, they're not figments. They're straight up going to show up, and it's going to be exciting in the greater MCU.
So we get to see them. They're super fun. They're hanging out. They're running around. They're showing off. They're breaking the fourth wall, all that good stuff. And then it ends up showing us the new Pietro just kind of crashed on their couch, which is a funny way to have him doing his thing.
Especially because she could magically create a new room if she wanted to.
Yeah.
We're just going to ignore that.
But he's crashed on the couch. He's funny, right? Everyone agreed that he's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I thought this was the funniest he was. I've watched the X-Men and stuff, but I thought this was as funny as he's been. I thought he was good with the kids. The kids are great actors for being little kids. I think they kind of nail what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
So they're jumping around. He's being funny. Nothing too interesting, breaking into the world is happening until Vision comes downstairs. So, well, first off, you get to see them all in their cool costumes, right? On their classic 90s. That everyone liked the way that they justified what these costumes were.
I love his stupid Infinity Stone that was like poking off his head instead of on. The fact that they downgraded his makeup.
Yes, I thought it was all really brilliant. And having not read comics or anything, I recently saw pictures of like who the kids' comic book characters are, and they nailed the costumes in being that like cheap homemade style. But it's so spot on.
What's the second one's name? It's Wiccan and
Speed, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I do wonder if anyone knows the answer to this question, because Wanda says she's a fortune teller from Sokovia. Is that any way related to like the actual? Do you know if that's anywhere near true that there's a set of fortune tellers that look like Scarlet Witch, or is that just their justification?
That's probably just a justification.
It's gotta be.
I did like how when she said she was a Sokovian fortune teller, she did the classic pose from her Age of Ultron poster.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, she totally did. You're right. That's awesome. I mean, Vision's not actually a Mexican wrestler, so I know that was just their weird justification for their cool outfit. But it was fun.
How they were going to do that one. When she said Sokovian fortune teller, I was like, okay, so these are clearly very different. What the heck is Vision?
Yeah, but then they got to have him be a sexy, cool Mexican wrestler, which was great. I was about that life. So they do all that, but then it becomes apparent quick that Vision's up to something. But it also becomes apparent quick that Pietro is Pedro. Is that he goes by Pedro, right? Yeah.
That's the thing. He's only ever called himself Uncle P.
Oh, okay.
So Wanda referred to him as Pietro when she opened the door at the end of that episode, but he's never been referred to by name.
Interesting. We'll call him Quicksilver. So Quicksilver, quickly though, is trying to diffuse whatever like tension is that kind of there, pushing between Vision and Wanda, because it's obvious that he wants to figure out what's going on and she doesn't want him to, but she's not like just fully forcing him to subjugate to her will, which is interesting. I don't know if she still can or what's going on there, but she's definitely choosing not to. But it's obvious that Quicksilver is there to diffuse the situation, and you'll see it more as the episode goes on. But it's an interesting dynamic that's taking place between, I think, that core three there. That I just don't know what that's saying, but anyway, they get through all that. It's Halloween time. It's going to be great. But Vision's going to go do, the neighborhood watch thing, and they're going to go trick-or-treating. Leads to all kind of shenanigans, right? And kids are stealing candy and silly stringing everybody and
smashing pumpkins and all fun Halloween things.
Which is great. And then again, it's Evan Peters being funny, getting to do, a different kind of Quicksilver than the other MCU Quicksilver. So he's more fun, he's excitable, but also that is obviously different, and Wanda is definitely on to whatever's going on. She tests him throughout the episode, which is cool because it gives us background that we don't know. He seems to have the right answers. Does everyone agree with that? It seems like questions.
Kind of the funny thing is because when he says when he mentions the memory about them trick-or-treating, Wanda clearly doesn't remember it that way. And when you see little kid Wanda and little kid Quicksilver, they're redheaded and like bleach blonde. But in Age of Ultron, when you see archive footage of Pietro and Wanda, they're dark brown hair.
Okay.
So I'm thinking that she has suppressed her memories on some things, and that's why she did not bring Quicksilver back the way that she brought back Vision. Her like mind is kind of all over the place, so she did not bring him back to perfection like she did with Vision, if that makes sense. So
yeah,
that's why it's not the same actor.
So you think she brought him back? You're of that mindset.
I think that so she brought back Vision because she had his body, but she couldn't bring back Pietro in that same way because she didn't have Pietro. So I'm thinking he was pulled from another dimension to substitute, because she'd have to create a new person and she can't really do that the same way that she did with her kids.
I am hoping that's the case, but but then my theory changed after we saw this picture.
Yeah. So that's what I say. As the episode goes on, a lot of the theories get thrown into whack, because in my opinion, it seemed like he was from somewhere else there to intentionally try to get her to work through these emotions. But then it shows that picture of him being dead, which kind of at least leads credence to your idea that it was someone she had brought back.
But there's also the thing when they're having that conversation and she sees him dead, he's asking her how she did this, how it all started. And she says that she has no idea how it happened. She just remembers being empty. And so my running theory is that she did create the whole hex, but she doesn't know how it happened. So my guess is it was subconscious, but she's clearly aware of what's happening. She knows that it's like a TV show, but she doesn't know how it came to be. So she can control it because she knows what it is, but just not how it all started. So I just lost my train of thought, but that's part of my theory.
I'm going to stick to my guns. I think he or someone else brought him. It was not Wanda related, how he ended up in this hex. And like you said, because of the way he talks to her in such a way of like trying to get her disarmed and to kind of realize when he's doing it in such a nice way. It's like, hey, you brought the kids back. Like, hey, you're still a good person. Which is, by the way, the kids are back. Spoiler alert, there are kids there. And he's kind of asking like, hey, where were they? And all this stuff, as if he's known that they were gone, even though he just showed up. Which makes me think he is an outside force who came into this hex in a different kind of way.
I just remembered the rest of my theory. So she created this place subconsciously. She knows what's going on, so she can manipulate it, but she doesn't know how it came to be. And my guess is she also created Pietro subconsciously, because as a way to like deal with her emotions, like you said, like he's trying to get her to open up about this stuff.
It's really just her trying to get herself to
open. Like she's just talking with herself, kind of a thing.
I thought it was interesting that he acknowledged his own role in the show. Where he's like, I'm here to cause some tension and hang out with the kids as his character, acknowledging he's a character, which is pretty fun that he also knows this is a show.
Yeah, that also reminds me, in the opening credits, it says like who everyone is. And like with opening credits, it usually shows the actors. But for this whole show, it's been showing their names. Except for Pietro.
Which you're right,
It says that he's playing himself.
Yes, Pietro as himself, which is interesting. Yeah, that is true. That's
I don't know why that is.
Yeah, there's something to that theory. There's something to this idea that like maybe he doesn't actually exist either. And our whole this is how the X-Men are now in the universe thing isn't true. And that this is just a weird figment that she created to give her something to bounce off back and forth.
I'm going to be bummed if we don't get this isn't the introduction of the X-Men. But I also heard a theory on a podcast where it's almost like they're making the mutants and the X-Men so far in your face to where they can just kind of turn it around and have like the backdoor entry of the Fantastic Four, because they've referenced it a couple times. So it's almost like a red herring with the X-Men, and then over here the Fantastic Four are the ones that are actually making
that are actually going to sneak in, which does get mentioned, and we'll kind of snap onto that. But yeah, I will be bummed as well if it turns out he's not actually the Quicksilver from. Hey, that would be dope. If he's not actually the Quicksilver from the Fox universe, I'll be bummed. It'll bum me out. I like the idea of them just bringing over, but.
See, I don't see why it wouldn't be that, because if you're going to recast Pietro,
any actor in the world, they
specifically picked him.
Right.
They're not going to do something like, oh, he's played the character of the same name before, so let's just get him. It's got to be intentional, because Marvel does stuff intentionally.
Yeah. So anyway, this is about the time where they flip back. Now they're doing the back and forth thing again. They switch back to regular reality. Monica and the FBI, Mr. Bad Guy. What's the name? Does anyone know the name of the main bad guy here?
No, because I don't care about him enough.
Colonel, no one likes him enough.
Director Hayward.
Director Hayward?
Yeah. Him and Please Stand By are the two most hated things in the WandaVision fandom.
At the end.
It is fun. And I like the way they always like get you out of nowhere. It really does. But yeah, so they're doing their whole thing. They're talking, and there's the obvious good guys of Monica and Director Wu, Captain Wu, Agent
Henry Wu. I don't know.
Is he agent? He's just an agent, right?
Agent Wu,
I don't know.
But yeah, so it's doing all that stuff, and they're trying to defend Wanda, but Hayward wants to just kill her, and that's obviously not going to work. But they're doing the whole thing. The good guys, as we'll call them, get kicked out, which is lame. But then there's the cool. They get to have a cool moment where Wu and Rambo get to put people down, get to go to work, leading more credence to our Wu getting his own show theory that
I've seen a lot of
floating around.
Where everyone's like, they're both super down, him and Kat Dennings, to reprise Darcy. I think that'd be a super fun show.
Yeah, I'm all about that life. I'm all about the the Wook, and he's cool. He's funny. He's cool. I love him. Love him in other shows. Bring him back.
It's weird seeing him fight because I don't.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen Ant-Man and Wasp, but it's been a while, so it's just kind of weird seeing him spring into action out of nowhere and just deck a dude. It was like, whoa, he can fight.
It was funny because it was almost as if like Marvel had anticipated already that the previous episodes were us going to be like, yeah, he's great. Bring him back. Make him do more stuff.
Oh, for sure.
And then like they were like, yeah, we already do. We've already got it. We've already got it ready, which is great. Got a couple theories here in the chat that we'll talk about as we get rolling here, including Monica's. Oh, so the other thing we learned during all this sequence, not only does she mention she has what's her wording? Does anyone know exactly what she says?
Her DNA is getting rewritten every time that she enters the.
So
the
there's
hex.
that part, which is obviously her becoming Spectrum, or is that the name?
Yeah.
Spectrum.
Yeah, so she's obviously going to become a superhero with superpowers by the end of this. So they got that part rolling pretty obviously. She also mentions her contact, someone in space, which there's a few different ideas.
Scrolls, right?
Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck is probably got to be the top three for sure. I mean, if I was going to bet in Vegas, I probably wouldn't. I would probably waste my money upgrading Jubilee. But second choice would be to bet it all on Howard the Duck. No, I mean, I think the obvious answer everyone wants it to be is Mr. Fantastic. It makes sense. Space stuff. He does space stuff. It's cool space stuff. But there's other answers that it could be.
Yeah,
I see.
Fury is an option as well. I mean, if we want to be technical,
Yeah.
he's in space as well.
I think she says it's a something space engineer or something though. I don't.
She says that he's a aerospace engineer. So I'm thinking it's either Blue Marvel or Mr. Fantastic, hopefully played by John Krasinski. I think that would be great.
Super bummed if he's not the guy, because that's been a fan cast for like 10 years or something like that.
Yeah.
As soon as he got jacked, you're like, hey, he looks like Mr. Fantastic. We should cast him real quick.
And he actually did screen test for Captain America. So he has been on the mind of Marvel for a while.
I do see Pierre here in the comments. It seems to think the contact would logically be Talos, which is the Skrull.
Okay.
I don't know that he's an engineer of any kind, but I mean, it could be someone. He could be playing someone. Any of the Skrulls would make sense as well. It could be any sort of Skrull or any sort of weird thing going on there. But I'm just hoping it's Mr. Fantastic. We want what we want. I want the good stuff. We want the Fox X-Men. We want the Fantastic Four.
Not the Fox Fantastic
Not
Four,
the Fox Fantastic Four, though. We want to pick and choose which things from Fox
Chris
we want.
Evans is going to cross over and be Human Torch again.
Oh, now that would be fire.
That's his return to the MCU.
Just Chris Evans playing both Captain America and the Human Torch at the same time. But no one ever acknowledges it. That is the dream. That and accidental curly fries. So we got that going on. They get kicked out. They're coming back in. They're going to try to figure out a way. While this is all happening, there's the Vision walking the streets.
That part was super intense because he kind of realized that like some people are doing very minimal movements over and over again, and the further away from the focus of the show, those guys are just standing around, which is super weird. And she just like lets them sit there like statues and doesn't care about them at all at the moment.
Yeah, and I think part of it's what Ray was saying, that like she doesn't quite know how this has happened, but it's so important to her to keep Vision and to keep this light that she's created that like she's just ignoring the bad that's happening. But I think it's very obvious. Someone mentioned the kids in the previous episode. She thought about it. She brought the kids back. Because you're probably right. She probably just had them in some weird stasis somewhere.
That'd be so messed up that like kids are just sitting there for a week doing nothing, not even allowed to move.
That's what I'm saying. And then you saw like the one girl was like crying down her face and stuff. So it's obviously intense and it's super creepy. Good that they chose it with a good Halloween theme to like have this scary as they walk the streets, and the further they get away, the less and less people are moving.
I think the Agnes scene was super interesting because it's like we kind of thought she was a sorcerer that was majorly involved.
She is totally faking it. I think she's totally faking it. Yeah.
I think it could be both. I think she could both like be aware and like have something special about her and still be in somewhat underneath Wanda's powers. But she could just be faking it as well, or she could just be whoever the person was that is undercover, and who knows who she is. She could be anybody important. She could be no one important.
I wonder, so with how it's rewriting Monica's DNA, I wonder if the amount of time you spend in the hex, like maybe Agnes was an outside force, but she's falling more and more under the spell as she's in there. And so she was originally aware, but she's kind of losing it, so she wasn't fully acting. That also brings me to, like, a lot of stuff, when it goes in, it changes, and it comes back out changed. But, like, when Vision tried to exit, he wasn't fully changed.
Yeah.
No, he kind of seemed like he was looking the same, but he was slowly getting pulled apart to get back in. But yeah, I was really excited to see him try and break the barrier because I'm like, is he gonna survive? Is he gonna survive? Is he gonna survive? And
I think there's a lot. So there's still the two main trains of thought that need to be discussed, and I think it encompasses all these things. It encompasses the kids, it encompasses the changing, it encompasses Agnes's behavior, and that is either A, this is all Wanda. It's all a very deep psychological show. There's not any sort of puppet master going around. She just is working through trauma. And because she's so powerful, it affects a lot of things. Or B, there is something going on, right? There's Mephisto. There's something deeper controlling. Maybe, that could explain, Agnes's lack of control at sometimes and not others. And so it's got to be one of those two things. I lean towards the former, that it's just Wanda's trauma and that she is just working through things, and that is, her powers are fluctuating and changing, and as she becomes conscious of things, she decides to make different decisions. But a lot of people believe that it's Mephisto or something else sinister at work. And if that's the case, we might not have anything right that we know about anything.
this is only in 8-episode series, correct? That's the running.
Yeah.
Theory. So we're already on episode. We just finished episode 6. So the end of this episode was definitely extravagant. It got big, the carnival, Darcy's out and the thing. So it's building up more and more, but eventually we're gonna hit a point where it's just an absolute climax. Do we think that they're gonna do that in the next episode, or save it for the finale and have like a cliffhanger that you got to think about for years, similar to what they did with Infinity War?
So something exciting about the next 3 episodes, which this is pretty cool, is that
a 1-hour episode.
Yes.
Each episode coming out is going to be 1 hour, and these are the last 3 episodes. And this came from Kevin Feige. So
wait, because we just watched episode 6, but there's only 8 episodes. So it means there's only 2
episodes.
I
thought there was 9 episodes. I thought there was 9 episodes.
Okay, I thought it was 8. Bonus episode. I'm pumped.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited now.
Yes, I'm excited that there's going to be more runtime. I think if there's going to be a big bad, it's got to be this next episode. Like by the end of the next episode.
My point. I was like, are we going to have this type of thing, like having Mephisto show up, or is there ever going to be an introduction to Doctor Strange? Not as a big bad, but as a character, since we've all been under the impression that this is going to lead directly into Spider-Man and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, I think because I don't think they have any plans for any sort of sequel thing, I think it's going to wrap up whatever it is. If there is a bad guy, I think they're going to at least temporarily defeat him. If they're, I think they want to wrap this story up. It's so it makes it hard to believe that there's like some big bad because there's not a lot of time, but 3 1-hour episodes is a lot of time. So if they want to do it that way, they definitely can. I still, again, I feel like I lean towards it's all just part of Wanda's healing process, and it just unfortunately catches it. But we've got the best part coming up.
Can we set up like therapy sessions for all of the Avengers? Like seriously, they need counseling.
Yeah, I mean,
they
obviously
don't deal with trauma at all.
Well, I mean, they've gone through unique traumas. I mean, but Iron Man was able to sort of do it in one movie. I mean, So Wanda can hopefully do it in one 9-episode series. But as we continue forward, we see, the military is going to do what the military is going to do, but then it doesn't seem to matter because Vision kind of sees something weird's going on. Has that weird conversation with Agnes. So he's going to leave. But before he leaves, there's the whole, Pietro and Wanda having this discussion, and he's kind of calling her out, right? He's kind of like calling her out, letting her know, like, hey, like you were kind of doing this, and you're definitely like messing with people's mind. But he's doing it in a reassuring way.
Because that was interesting.
She's a little like caught off guard and is like, you don't think this is wrong? And he's like, no, I think it's amazing.
Yeah. Which I think is, again, that. Yeah, and I understand the theory that it could just be that it's her.
That specific thing is pulled from the House of M, where the whole story builds up to where they think that Magneto's the one that convinced her to make the entire universe different. But instead, it was actually Quicksilver's idea. So it's kind of cool that they had him at least approve of the idea and maybe give some creative input and maybe have her change other things about the hex.
Yeah. Yeah, which leads me, like you said, that fits into my theory that he came from somewhere else. I think the Fox X-Men sent him into this hex to try to talk her down, to try to like help her through this drama. But it would also make sense that he's a figment of her.
If they just have a random James McAvoy show up as Professor X, I'd be pretty excited, honestly.
Well, she did say that there was going to be a quote unquote Luke Skywalker level. I don't know if anyone's seen this.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, the Elizabeth Olsen's like, somebody asked her, is going to be a big reveal like Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, and Mandalorian? And she confirmed that it was going to be. So, but that could be a handful of other people. But that question was asked after Evan Peters had appeared, correct?
It was actually right before, when I think was intentional.
I don't think he would be considered as big as like a Luke Skywalker.
I don't know. Yeah, Howard the Duck, Luke Skywalker. I mean, you kind of it's. I bet if you pulled it, it would be a little closer than you'd think. Like probably 98 to 2%, somewhere in that range. So pretty close, but
Pietro could be the Luke Skywalker moment.
I'm thinking it's Doctor Strange because of technically she was like, I have not worked with this actor until now, and she never did work with Doctor Strange.
Did she ever work with
Peters either, though? She worked with Aaron Johnson, right? That's Aaron.
Yeah.
Again, just not the same. I just don't think it's the same level. He's already in the MCU. We already know he's in the movie. We know they're connected. I mean, obviously, she could just be wrong. It could be her opinion on what the level is. But I think, in my opinion, if it's going to be that big of a level, it's got to be someone like Patrick Stewart or I think it's going to be something crazy like that. I think if it. Someone I think it's going to be Patrick Stewart. Hugh Jackman would be that level. Yeah. I think people would be that level excited if it was Hugh Jackman.
It just surprises everyone ends up being Deadpool. I think that
would be fire, dude.
I think
like the old Deadpool that kind of sucked, who didn't talk.
The Weapon X
one. No, oh my god, no.
Could you imagine how fired up no one would be? Just absolutely just everyone like,
I don't know if you can pay Ryan Reynolds enough money to dress up like that again.
No. It surprised all of us, and he ends up being Green Lantern. He just shows up.
That would be intense, right?
That's reaching a bit.
But yeah,
what if it just is Luke Skywalker?
The comparison is there because Mark Hamill is going to show up. Does he have to be Luke Skywalker? Maybe we get Mark Hamill introduced into the MCU.
Now that would be if he shows up as Luke Skywalker, I'd be pretty fired up.
Yeah, he doesn't need to be Luke Skywalker.
I don't know what it means, but I'd be.
Yeah, it could be Pietro as like the big reveal opening to the multiverse, but I really hope it's going to be something else.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be.
I'm going to feel let down if Evan Peters is something she considered the same as Luke Skywalker, but I guess that's a matter of the actress's opinion.
I would like her less, that's for sure.
Yeah, because like I'm thinking honestly, this year for a bunch of the films and shows, there's going to be a lot of crossovers. Biggs and Spider-Man, you know, we probably are getting Charlie Cox back as Daredevil. And we already know that Wanda is going to be in the new Doctor Strange film, so it would just make sense for Doctor Strange to show up in this.
It's like we know that's confirmed, so maybe Disney's just in their Disney mind. They're like, everyone's going to think it's going to be Benedict Cumberbatch, but instead it's John Krasinski.
I think that's that. But they're really good at that, right? I think even
so good at that. They're just like randomly, like they lead you one way and then they take a complete left, and people, instead of being bummed, they're still super excited about it. They're like, "Oh, that was sweet. I'm so glad that happened."
Well, I think about The Mandalorian, and they were like, "Oh, pretty cool, right? Who do you think it's going to be?" And everyone like kind of figured out, "Oh, it's Boba Fett." They kind of figured it out beforehand. And then he comes in, you're like, "Yeah, I told you it's Boba Fett. He's really badass." And they're like, "Psych! It's actually Luke Skywalker. Joke's on you." So I think this is going to have a similar play out. All these things that we think we know, but no one's going to know anything, and it's going to be something weird, something Wolverine, something crazy. I doubt it'll be Luke Skywalker though. But we're excited to see it. Mr. Fantastic makes sense as well. So
one thing that I really know nothing about is that weird commercial, which first of all, when it started,
the Danimals style.
Yes, when it started, I was like transported back into my childhood. I actually sat up to like skip the commercial because I was like, why is there a commercial in my Disney Plus show? Because it felt so real.
It really did. Like they definitely leaned into like a Danimal style 90s cartoon.
Yes.
Like claymation.
And then it was so disturbing.
Yeah, and then he just like died. But then the commercial ends all happy, like, hey, pretty good stuff, right? Like, is it?
I want to know what it meant. Why? Also, why did they do it?
The kid spent in like a decade trying to pull the stupid tab instead of just stabbing his finger through or something. Like, there's so many better options.
Well, he couldn't grab the tab to.
Yeah, so just stab it with your finger or something.
Get a stick. There's got to be something.
I mean, granted,
find that shark.
One thing of yogurt isn't really going to help him all the way anyway. He's going to starve after that yogurt.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, when this series is over, it's going to be a very obvious thing that someone's going to put together. This is what all the commercials meant.
I've heard that's Infinity Stones.
I've heard Infinity Stones too.
Me too. I've also heard that like the characters that are in the commercials are her parents. That's a fun theory.
But there's on 9 episodes, and you got to think every one of them's going to have.
Oh yeah.
Well, there wasn't a commercial in 4, right?
Yeah, because that was all from the outside perspective, right?
So there might only be 7 or 8 commercials, but I guess we'll see. It could be Infinity Stones, but I don't know yet. Someone smarter than me is going to put it together, and when they do, we'll talk about it here on the Marvel Stuff Podcast.
Except we're going to phrase it in a way that we came up with it.
That's right. That's right. All great things happen here first. That's why you guys got to subscribe. It's all good stuff. Don't listen to other more interesting people. Listen to us instead. But then, as all that's going on, there's the Vision now is breaking out. It becomes very obvious that he can't. He is tied to this hex.
It got pretty far.
Yeah.
Like, full body. It was almost just his cape. I was like, bro, just let the cape go.
Yeah, but I think he just wasn't going to survive. I don't think he could survive outside of it.
Yeah, that kind of like makes me think that the more time you spend inside the hex, the more your DNA is rewritten. So like if he were to walk out like at the very beginning, he probably just would have turned into a dead body. But like I wonder if the longer he stays there, the more real he becomes.
Probably.
Yeah, but I just don't think it could be. But I think the show is trying to tell us he can't leave. At some point, Wanda's going to have to make the choice of either this town doesn't exist,
but then
Vision doesn't exist.
Wouldn't that apply to the kids as well?
Yeah, that's a tricky one because I feel like the kids have to make it out. They didn't spend a whole episode, mostly, like maybe not mostly, but a lot of the episode was focused on them. And I don't think they're going to take these young kids that can definitely contribute to a future in the MCU and then just be like, dead.
Did they survive the House of M comic? Does anyone know? They don't, right? They come back in a different way.
Yeah, in the House of M comic, at least the section that I read, which was 1 through 6, the twins are barely mentioned. It's kind of interesting because at the very beginning, it's like she gives birth to the twins. Professor X kind of has to get her out of that funk and be like, listen, you don't have kids, your husband's dead, all these sad things. And the kids like are very much background characters through that specific storyline. I'm sure they're
pretty background the whole time, but I'm pretty sure the ending crux is that they don't survive that comic.
No, I don't believe so.
But I think they come back in some other way.
Yeah, there's some weird alternate.
And this could be how Mephisto finally, introduces himself as like, hey, you can't keep these people alive yourself.
That would be so screwed up.
But
like
I can.
At the end of it, like you can't leave the hex because the kids can't go with you or something like that, where it's almost like it was taken over by a Mephisto type character. That'd be interesting.
And then we see she can expand the hex, right? That's kind of the big moment.
It was a very cool scene.
It's cool, right? The carnival's funny. It's kind of going, and they're moving around, which is interesting because it's kind of towards the end of the hex.
I thought the same exact thing. I was like, she must be focused on that area, which makes sense because she's expanding it. So maybe the borders where most of the focus is on in the moment, which makes sense why it didn't be in motion.
But she does that thing. She breaks character. She stops. She's very conscious of what she's doing. She expands the barrier to protect Vision.
When she threw Pietro,
she had the cool magic hands in this episode.
Yeah.
Sure, doing all the cool stuff.
Don't worry, sis. Your dead husband can't die twice.
Yeah.
Good line.
When he said that, I wanted to punch my computer. I was so mad at him.
Yeah, but that's not sibling stuff,
Yeah, I mean, I tell my siblings all the time, yeah, your kids are dead? Like a lame.
Can't die twice.
Can't die twice. It's not my fault I was drunk. What are you whining about?
Oof.
Kidding. I have not killed any of my siblings' kids in any sort of drunken accident. They were someone else's kids. All right.
Dude!
Good.
Nobody.
Finished it strong.
I have 0 DUIs in my record, so no one cancel me.
Yes,
Anyway, so
So the town expands, which is great. Obviously the good guys get away, so they can have their
Except Darcy.
outside of the. Oh yeah, except
Darcy got sucked in, which Pierre in the comments here made a good point that like Vision's gonna go up to her and kind of restore her memory, so she's a cool character within the hex.
Yeah,
it's like an ally, and I like that idea a lot.
So a other theory going around is that she's gonna be like a waitress at a diner, like in the show.
Two girls.
Yeah.
that would be funny.
That would be funny.
I would enjoy that very much.
But also with Darcy going into the hex, if you really think about it, Darcy just is living the dream. She got cast on her favorite TV show.
No, that's true.
Hey guys, did you guys catch a Kick-Ass reference? I really hope you did, because at one point Wanda's talking to her brother and she says something about it being Kick-Ass, which is funny because both Evan Peters and Aaron Taylor Johnson were in the movie Kick-Ass together. So.
Yeah, I think her son is the one who says it, and then they run off, and she's like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, that's awesome. I loved that reference. I kind of freaked out a bit. My wife had no idea what I was talking about.
It is. I want to get back to the town expanding, because I think it has the potential to set up what I think is going to happen, and that she is going to, by the end, like probably in the final episode or the end of episode 8, she's going to expand it around the whole world.
I thought about that because in my mind, I was like, at the end of this episode, is she going to go all the way? Is she going to take everything over? Which they seem to be pushing it. But
too much
she did
time
push the borders a lot, and that's definitely a possibility that she could change the entire universe. Although that's like major changes.
But she's done it before. She's done it in the comics.
Yes, in the comics.
So I think what's going to happen is like, Captain, no one likes him face. Colin, what's his name?
Hayward.
Director Hayward.
He's going to try to do something else again. It's going to endanger her and her family, and then she's going to decide, nope, enough of this is enough. Like if the only way to be safe is if I just take over the whole world. So I think she'll probably do that going into the final episode, and then that's when they'll have some sort of big saving moment, and she'll have to make the decision or something. I don't know. You don't really know, but it seems like it can happen. It happened in the comics. It seems like that's where they're flowing. So I wouldn't be surprised if she at some
That would
point.
be a really cool end of episode 8 reveal, and then episode 9 is all her debating on what she wants to do with that information.
Yeah.
So my theory is that she is going to she's gonna make some Inhumans or mutants out of this.
Yes.
Because of we don't know how Miss Marvel gets her powers yet. So I'm thinking and her show is actually going to be coming out in it's going to be coming out in September. So
would that be like as a result of the Hex rewriting?
I am thinking I'm thinking that's how the MCU creates mutants and Inhumans.
So it's not like it's an intentional thing. It's like a side effect of being in the Hex.
Well,
right.
Don't Inhumans already exist from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Terrible TV show, Marvel Inhumans.
I never watched that.
But I mean, but to be honest, it would make sense because of technically Miss Marvel is from New Jersey, and they are in New Jersey right now.
They are in New Jersey. That's true. That's a pretty important thing to mention.
And it's funny, the difference between humans and X-Men is, mutants is total nonsense.
What did they call Wanda and her brother at the beginning?
Enhanced.
Or something?
Yeah,
Enhanced?
it's nonsense.
Yeah, something silly.
But yeah, I agree. There's going to be rewriting of a lot of people. So I hope she just expands the whole world. I think that would be cool, and it would set up. Now we have all the X-Men.
Yeah, I wonder if it's going to be like a permanent thing or like it's only for a short amount of time, enough to change the DNA, and then the thing drops, and then we have the mutants, which would be fun.
Yeah, that's kind of my look through it there.
It would be really weird if they entirely changed the universe and kept it that way. I don't know if I'd be a big fan of that. That just seems like too much.
I'm just saying, if she does expand the world, what role does everybody want on this TV show? Like, if she's going to expand, I mean, also, how does the time jump work at that point?
I was thinking the same thing because it's a 90s.
We're going to go into the future?
Even in the regular version, they're in the future because it's after Endgame. What are they, 2026, I want to say? It's 5 years in the future.
Yeah, 2023, right?
Well, when did Endgame drop? That was 2019, right?
And
it was 5 years later, so that would make it 2024, and then this is a year later. So.
Yeah.
No, so WandaVision takes place 3 weeks after the events of
Endgame. You're right.
Yes.
Right.
3 weeks after.
Probably,
whatever that date. Spider-Man Far From Home takes place 8 months after Endgame.
That is weird. I always forget that this does take place before.
Yeah, that's a weird placement
Spider-Man.
to have it happen before Far From Home, and then it leads into Far From Home, which, if you want to get specific, it seems like something should have changed in his universe.
Pierre, thanks for the math. You needed it.
Nice.
So we're in 2023 right now?
Yes.
For WandaVision?
I'm just saying.
Endgame was 2019. That was
if I get recast as a sweet 90s character, I would be upset about it.
Oh, man. Hook me up with, like, Gambit. That'd be pretty sweet.
Dope.
Gambit's dope.
So, yeah, hopefully that we do get to see the expansion there. But that's kind of where the episode leaves us, is this final expansion, the carnival, the good guys get away, Director Hayward gets away, so they're going to have some more shenanigans going on. But, yeah, she does the throw in Pietro, but I think he's still going to be around.
Yeah, he just crashed into some stuff.
Just a quick sibling, like, screw it.
Yeah.
They'll make up later. It's fine. Even though that was a pretty crappy joke to make to your grieving sister.
All right. So now we know next episode we're looking at the 2000s. Let's go. Let's get our theories out there. Which show are they gonna kind of?
They gotta do some Friends, How I Met Your Mother.
It's gonna end Colin. That's what's gonna happen.
Okay.
I see one more Howard the Duck on my screen.
I guess Max Rebo is out and Howard the Duck is in. Is that where we're going with Colin?
That's dude. First off, the Howard the Duck thing in Guardians is great. 2000s. What are some good 2000s shows?
I'm just looking it up. I searched 2000 sitcoms. We've got 2.5 Men, How I Met Your Mother, Modern Family, Malcolm in the Middle. Everybody Loves Raymond.
Everybody Loves Raymond would make sense.
Would they lean into the Disney thing at all?
Modern Family.
Marvel.
You think Modern Family would work too?
Well, at one point,
that seems more. I mean, it started in 2000, but it feels more of this, the 2010s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. I just saw it. It's
The Office. I can't, but it's not. The Office isn't a family one. You know what I mean? So they seem to be going like a family one all the time.
Modern Family is 2009. What I do remember from a trailer and some screenshots and stuff, there is a part where Wanda is in a robe with her hair in a ponytail and she's talking to the camera. So they are doing a
so Parks and Rec or The Office, which would make sense. Those are very
right. But wasn't Lizzie McGuire also early 2000s, and that was a Disney show, correct? Did she
late 90s? She broke it with like a weird little cartoon that would.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
Was it late 90s? I don't remember it.
I could see it being The Office / Parks and Rec, one of those like.
Lizzie McGuire was 2001.
Sitting down having interview things would be a unique and very good one to do. So we'll see. We're going to be wrong anyway, so that's fine.
Well, if we guess everything, then we can't be wrong.
If we guess everything, let's list every show that came out. But that's going to be great. Any other references anyone wants to point out? I know there was The Parent Trap, which is kind of clever. Oh, I like The Incredibles because I don't know if you guys know this, but The Incredibles did not come out in the 90s.
No, I saw that too. I was like,
it came out in 2004.
Like, how is Incredibles showing up on the marquee?
It was product placement by Disney in a Disney product.
I think it's a Fantastic Four reference. I think it's just more.
Oh, like a 4 superpower.
I mean, everyone considers The Incredibles the best Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Which it is.
Yeah,
it's the third best superhero movie ever. So can't argue with that.
But I mean, The Incredibles is about a superhero family, and so is WandaVision. So
that's true. What was the other movie that was in theaters? It was another really popular one. It showed 2 on the marquee.
Oh, it was The Parent Trap.
Parent Trap, thank you.
Which is that is a 90s movie. Yes. 95, 96.
Is that a Lohan one?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a remake of an older movie.
Yes, that's a remake of a much older one. But so that one's great. And I mean, they're parents that are trapped. You get it? But so that's pretty good. I didn't see a ton of references. I've seen some different things. I know Pierre also mentioned it here in his little comments. There's like a weird, strange things. There's a few different stretches towards the devil thing. I think there's a lot of people making a lot of. Did you see how this was kind of weird? Probably was Mephisto. I don't know. Could be.
I mean, if you want to get technical, like they've been doing really small references since like the Incredible Hulk in like wasn't a deleted or a post-credit scene where like you could barely see Cap's shield frozen in ice in an explosion. Yeah. And unless you were a huge fan, no one would have caught that. So they could be going back to their roots and getting really tiny references in.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason you join the Marvel Stuff Podcast Facebook group because that's where all those minutia details always get thrown in there. The ones that I don't think about until we lift the spoiler ban, and then David or someone's just going to drop 7 images. They're like, did you see this? Did you see this? Did you see this? Like, no, I've only watched it 3 times, not 47. What do you want me to do, man? But they're always good stuff. Let's circle back now. That's kind of the recap of the episode. Everyone likes the show still, right? Still.
I do want to point out that the production value just went like way through the roof, just showing Vision up in the air and stuff.
Oh yeah,
CGI. I was like,
oh no, it was.
They are not holding back.
When he came out of the camera thing and like that was full on like
MCU level.
That was like the movies. That was the Avengers level. Yep. CGI, like that was cool. Him.
I just wanted to point that out because it's been in other episodes, but it was really.
That's another thing to think about because if Wanda is controlling everything, then Wanda would be controlling Vision, but Vision is acting very independently. Like she has no idea where he's going.
Yes, and I think that's cool. I think that's probably the right choice, right? I mean,
good
relationship advice for everyone out there: don't try to mind control your spouse. Doesn't work out.
I'm wondering. Like the longer he's there, the more he's becoming sentient because his DNA is being rewritten to be alive.
DNA, technically.
What?
Yes.
Does Vision have DNA?
Yes.
Technically?
He's not just a machine. He is in some form. He has some sort of.
It's like circuitry combined with the I don't know.
Well, I guess.
Rewatch Ultron.
Well, I don't know. I could be making this up. Didn't Darcy say that the DNA is being rewritten on a molecular level?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I guess
he
you
could
can make the
he
argument.
could be rewriting his molecules.
That's fair. Okay, I just wanted to.
Yeah, I still think he's never going to be able to live outside of it, but he is changing. He's becoming more independent, which is going to lead to more fun things going on. But we'll see. That's all for future things.
Do we think, just as a fun thing to discuss, they're going to throw any movie stars from over other previous films just as like a funny cameo, same as like a Cap and Spider-Man, something silly on a TV? Think they're going to do something just to bring it there? They already have all their MCU characters.
Yeah, what happens when they start watching the first Iron Man on TV?
They
As,
catch up to 2008, rewatch the Iron
How's that work? Do the MCU movies exist in this weird multiverse universe?
Well, the comics don't.
That's true. Which is always lame. I liked how they did it.
That would have been really funny if they explained the Halloween costumes, be like, oh yeah, these are comic book characters, and it's just them doing their own.
Yeah, then you're breaking a lot of weird.
I know, but it'd be funny. I'd talk about it.
But we got a lot to look forward to, both in WandaVision and in the MCU. As Colin pulled up that schedule earlier, there it is, looking good. There's a lot of good stuff coming forward. I'm very excited about. It's going to change a lot of things, but we've got to get through WandaVision first. Falcon Winter Soldier is going to be dope.
So excited.
I'm super excited for those episodes because each episode is supposed to be an hour long.
Yeah.
Ooh, yes.
That's why there's less of them. I did hear. I don't know if you guys have seen this news though. The Black Widow news of.
Yeah, there's some executives that are very again, or maybe not executives, but people that worked on the film that are very against like a hybrid release. The same thing as like an HBO Max has been doing. They're opposed to that. They don't want to release it on Disney Plus at all. But at the same time, they're not going to get the same traffic that they would in the movies. They're going to get a lot.
What is your guys' opinion? I haven't seen a single movie since COVID. I don't even know if Michigan has had theaters open at any capacity.
I think they're recently opened back up. But yeah, the only thing I've been to is like they rent them out to families now, at least smaller theaters.
Yeah.
So I rewatched Mamma Mia with like 6 of my wife's family. That was
I remember you telling me about that.
So I'm all for putting them on Disney Plus. I have Disney Plus.
Yeah, me too.
So
I'd rather just watch it at home.
Although I didn't love like having to buy Mulan, so hopefully I don't have.
Yeah, that was lame. I like the way that they're doing the thing at HBO Max because I'm a subscriber there where they're just doing concurrent. Like I got to see Wonder Woman 84 the same day as I could have seen it in theaters.
Yeah, May 7th's a little far off. Who knows how the world will be by then?
That's true. I mean, you got the vaccine.
You got the vaccine. So. So hopefully that'll work out. But we'll see. But it is interesting that they're annoyed by it, and I mean, I would love to watch it for free, Black Widow. But in the meantime, I'm worried about what's going on here.
I mean, it's not like we're never going to go back to the movies.
Oh,
yeah. I'm going to go see other MCU movies. So, like, I get that you're losing a chunk of change. But at the same time, you're Disney. You have unlimited money. Let's chill out a bit with the one release that's been... It was supposed to come out a year ago at this point, right? When was the first original drop date? Was it March?
Yeah, about yeah.
No, yeah, because...
April, maybe? I don't remember.
Yeah, because if it jumped to April, jumped to May, jumped to November, and then it jumped to next May.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
At some point, just release
take the L, man. Like
done.
Everybody really wants to see it. I was thinking about that because if they're doing all these MCU shows and this movie was filmed long before, I get that it's a prequel, but at the same time, you're almost missing any sort of tie-in between the shows and the movie when the movie was made so long before the shows. It's gonna be hard to have like a continuation.
Yeah, and I just think people in general aren't as excited for Black Widow anyway. I think we're just kind of like, yeah, it's coming out, great. But like, have you heard of Loki though?
Yeah, true.
have you heard of the Falcon Winter Soldier show? Come on, Black Widow is like whatever. I think to a lot of people at this point, so just release it on Disney.
The main reason that people are a little whatever about Black Widow is because it has no definitive date, and like we know when we're getting. Loki and Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So I think if there's a date, there might be more hype for it.
But they stick to it, right?
Honestly, I forgot about the Black Widow movie because I've seen nothing about it. There's no release date.
Well, that was the thing. They dropped fat stacks on advertising before the initial release, and then they even tried to redo their advertising for the November release date or whatever. And then, like at this point, we don't know. May's the release date. Are they going to try and release the same trailers, new stuff? What are they going to do there?
That's a good point. Newsflash: COVID sucks.
true.
I think one thing I'm excited that's coming out of Black Widow is Taskmaster. He's been someone
my
I'm really
God,
interested
I
to
love
see join the
Taskmaster.
MCU.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited to see him finally join. And I hope that that's not the only time we see him is in that movie. I hope we see him in future MCU projects.
Hopper from Stranger Things, he's a character in there, and I enjoyed a couple.
Yeah.
Of that show. I didn't watch all of it, but I liked Hopper as a character, so I'm excited to see that actor do something cool.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's not his actual name, but I think of him as Captain Russia, not Captain America, because of his whole costume is nothing but like Russia, and then I think he does have a shield too at one point.
He does. And they got a U.S. agent now that's going to be in the Falcon Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's just trying to make up for Cap being gone.
Yeah, it's gonna be great, and by that I mean it'll be a movie that comes out. That's all I.
Can Black Widow make a top 10 MCU movie? In my opinion, probably not.
Oh, I mean, yeah, well, you never know until it comes out. But
because
it's got a shot of being okay.
Yeah, because I mean that will kind of fill in that timeline of where she was between the events of Civil War to Avengers Infinity War, because there's that 3-year gap.
The time frame that it is.
Yeah.
I guess I knew that, but again, it was a year ago, so I haven't thought about it much since.
So something else I want to talk about was there's this theory going around, which I thought was pretty cool, was about it's about Baron Zemo. In the MCU apparently, and the reason why he's going to wear a purple mask is to intimidate the Avengers, because he's reminding them of Thanos, because it's like even got the same wrinkles that
it helps
Thanos
explain the stupid purple mask that he had in the comics. So it's like, all right, let's make it at least kind of cool and be like,
and if that's who he was in Civil War, so I mean, it's fine. It will not impact my liking of the show one way or another.
No, I mean,
definition, but
no,
it's a cool little thing.
Yeah, and I mean, and
I love Zemo.
And something else that's cool is that I think Baron Zemo is probably one of the first real villains besides Thanos and Loki to actually reprise his role of coming back to the MCU.
That's something that I'm glad the MCU is finally embracing, because there was a formula for a while there where they were like, one villain, one movie, and it's like you killed Ultron in one movie, but he was a major player in the comics for decades, so it's weird that he just got his one appearance and he's gone.
Right.
It's cool that they're developing villains a little bit better now, especially because it's been so many years of the MCU, so they have that ability to bring people further into the weaving.
Yeah. So now here's a big question. Since Thanos is gone, who do you guys think is going to be like the next big bad villain?
I don't know that they're going to
Galactus, just because they have the rights now, and Galactus is such a big character. I don't think he's coming anytime soon, but I think because of who he is in the comics and so how he's such a big character, but people kind of dismiss him a little bit as far as just the movie audience, because he was in Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. He was a stupid space cloud. Made me so mad. It was a dumb way to do that character. Yeah. So it's going to be fun to see him done right.
I just don't think that he is interesting enough and has enough like political and strategic things that make him interesting enough to like hold an arc.
But it is a world threat, it's a threat to the entire world, so that you could bring them together in a way.
Right.
Well, yeah. So I'm thinking possibly him or King the Conqueror.
Yeah, I think King's.
But then my theory is kind of shaken, because you would think he would show up like in a Fantastic Four movie or stuff, because if he's the great ancestor of Mr. Fantastic, but he's showing up in Ant-Man. So I'm like, I mean, that's his first appearance. I just wouldn't think like a big villain like that would show up in an Ant-Man movie. Even though that the original villain for Ant-Man 2 was supposed to be MODOK. So
MODOK's a fun one. He's an interesting character. It's something that I don't know if we want to touch much on the Sony universe, because it's not technically MCU, but I did see some rumors on Keanu Reeves as Kraven the Hunter.
Kraven's awesome. And it could just go right the next big thing, because you think Thanos was the big thing, but before him, really the big thing was Hydra. They had a few different movies that they kind of seeped into, so they could do the AIM thing.
please go Doctor Doom. If they got Doctor
and
Doom
do
involved,
Dr.
he's
Doom.
one of
Yeah.
the biggest like Marvel villains overall, but he's kind of backed into this little because he's technically a Fantastic Four villain, so that's where he's always put. But if he's brought into this larger universe, he's a huge character, especially in like the Marvel Ultimate Alliance video games.
Yeah.
He is currently the main villain of Strike Force. I haven't unlocked him yet, though. I don't have that much money.
I believe one of his first appearances was in a Black Panther comic.
Yep.
Yeah.
But,
So
he's very much.
He actually makes the most sense now that I really think about it.
I know. I thought about it more, and I was like, I think that's my favorite.
It's got to be. If they're gonna do someone.
Big bad.
Yeah, but
I'm a good point that James Spader's voice was cast in WandaVision. I think it's more of like they took clips of him talking from Age of Ultron, but it is kind of cool that he got a credit.
Yeah. I am so something that I'm really hoping, and I know we've talked about this, but like John Krasinski has to show up in Mr. Fantastic because of like that, like fan casting has been in the making for like 10 years. And
what are the chances? That
Yeah.
they also cast his wife as Invisible Woman, because I'd be pumped.
She's great.
People have
First
been
off,
talking about
Emily
that
Blunt's a
too.
fantastic actress.
Yeah.
So,
So I like
You
I'd
cast
be
her as
casting
anything.
too.
You cast her as Dr. Doom, and I would be pumped. So
but I can't think of the life of me who could play Johnny Storm now. And don't say Chris Evans.
Howard the
Michael B.
Duck.
Jordan again. No,
I know. I was going to say Michael B. Jordan.
don't do that.
Yeah,
There's
because
a lot of young up and coming actors that I'm sure there's like one of the older Stranger Things kids, like he's got the acting chops. Maybe they pull him over. Just younger. There's a new generation that's like younger than me, which is a weird thing because we're finally to that age that like people are getting famous that are a decade younger than us. So it's weird watching them take over this.
I don't love that reality.
It's true though. I mean, the last one was
Right.
Tom Holland. I think I'm a year and a half or 2 years older than him, not by much. But now the generation behind him, it's not even close.
You're probably right, though. We probably do need to look at like
Young.
who's
They have to
the
go young.
teenagers on these weird Netflix shows that are
All
Fate,
right, go.
the
Oh,
Wink
shoot,
series fairies.
I like Archie
yes.
from Riverdale. That'd be a fun Human
Archie
Torch.
from
I don't know if you guys
Okay,
have
okay.
I've seen Archie.
I
I
could
see it.
totally see him being Human Torch.
I kept seeing people saying Zac Efron, and I was like, no.
Wow, too
I was
old.
like,
And he's
no.
also too old. He's too old to.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, everyone's ever seen this show. But Outer Banks, the main character of Outer
John
Banks,
B.
John B, is super charismatic. He's fun. He's built. He's that age. He would be a fun person.
We should do
to
this
What about
more
one of the
often. Just
Sprouse
like
twins?
funny fan casts that like totally could happen. I
Well,
think it's a
yeah.
fun little segment.
No, because I mean I love Zach and Cody, but I couldn't see like those two
Dylan
actors
Cole
doing
Sprouse,
it.
they couldn't,
They haven't
they
done
couldn't be
enough.
that specific type of superhero. There's probably a role that they could do, but I couldn't see either of them as a Human Torch character.
No.
I
And
love
again,
Dylan
they're
and Cole.
older. They're my age.
I'm doubling down on John B. Everybody watch Outer Banks. And if you still disagree after that, you're
stick
wrong.
with KJF, but
We should do a fan casting poll like on Facebook and Instagram
That'd be fun.
and see who people vote. Because like I mean, there are so many characters that are not in the MCU yet that haven't been cast yet. So
And we
I'm
know
just
we're
curious
coming.
of what
Yeah.
people are saying.
let's do that. Let's make a poll. Let's give them 3 options, or we could do 4. We could do John B.
I can do
the
34
actor.
options, but
Okay,
most of them are going to be
3
made
or
up.
4. I said 3 or 4.
I said 34.
We don't need 34.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's everything. If you guys haven't yet, please go follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and then and YouTube as well. We are officially on. Yep, we are officially on Apple Podcasts as well now, which is awesome because
Because
of
with that logo. Kill 'em
Yep.
with you.
Yes. Good work. Ray's the best, if you guys don't know. She's
She's got some dope skills.
fire.
yeah. Yeah, and when convention's coming back, I guarantee that most of us will be able to cover stuff there, especially at Grand Rapids Comic Con, and Michigan, because
You
those type of
Cody can
conventions.
totally tear that up, or you.
Oh yeah,
are in Michigan again, if you are here for that.
I am
a fun segment there.
I am planning on flying back for Grand Rapids Comic Con because I've got so many costumes and I've been dying to try them out since I've gotten my Captain America.
Are pretty far out, guys. All right.
I know.
I don't even know if we're gonna get one this year. I guess we'll see. But
yeah.
Hey, the more it's pushed off, the more likely I'll be able to wear my Wanda Maximoff costume. So
I was talking to Brooke the other day, and she was like, "I did something," and I was like, "What?" And she's like, "I watched the new episode of WandaVision, and it was kind of an impulse buy, but I bought a new."
Bro,
bought a new.
You were gonna say she watched it without you, and I was like, grounds for a breakup.
No, she ended up buying a Scarlet Witch costume, and she wants me to do Vision, and I was just like, Vision's out of having like the bald cap and all that, so I don't know.
That's a
just be Paul Bettany.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, but something I think we should do is something that we've been doing on the Star Stuff podcast is where we've been having people send us emails and stuff of what costume Rudy should do for Star Wars, and Josh has been thinking about doing like a costume for a while, so I think people should send in their votes to see what costume that Josh should do.
Oh man, hook me up with some cosplay stuff. I mean, I'll do it. I definitely need someone like Ray's help because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. So, well, awesome, guys. I can't wait until next week. We've got 3 episodes left of WandaVision, and they are an hour long each, which is really exciting.
I'm so excited.
I thought this show will be 4.5 hours long. Which is
we're hitting an hour consistently, so that's cool.
Yeah, and there are so many theories flying around, and there's so much to look forward to in the MCU, and we are so glad that you guys choose to listen to us. So stay tuned for more. My name's Colin.
This is Coach. Don't have too much fun without me.
Hey, I'm Josh.
I'm Ray.
And thank you for listening. See you guys. Excelsior.
I'll see what he says.